Okay, welcome everybody. This is your boy Derek, and
Zach.
we are here with the Playbook channel. Welcome back, like I said. So we're gonna introduce ourselves again. This is maybe your first time. If it's not your first time, then welcome again. We are here to talk about, of course, fantasy football, NFL football, and a bunch of other different things, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna make it light, and we're gonna just explain a bunch of predictions and just ultimately talk about what we love. You know what I mean?
Football.
Football, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day for football, bro.
Yeah, it's a nice Saturday.
Hmm.
Getting ready for the week ahead. But to start off, let's kind of recap Thursday night. That was an interesting game.
Oh man, Dallas and the Giants, bro. That game was. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It kind of, it kind of was not as, and it wasn't as much as I thought it was gonna be. Let's start with that because the Cowboys, they always come in with the expectation of beating the Giants, and the Giants always come with the expectation of trying to beat the Cowboys, and it came down to ultimately the wire again. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Like you said, Cowboys, they have high expectations where they should be blowing these teams out.
right.
And that's not been the case this year. This was their first win. The Giants had the expectation that, they just weren't going to be good at all this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want to reference one of our first episodes where we talked about the beginning of the year. You said Malik Neighbors was going to be the guy. I said you're wrong, but he's been the guy.
Okay. Let, let me preface this because I know we did talk about that, and I asked you specifically in one of our episodes. I was like, so how are you gonna feel if Malik Neighbors explodes and you didn't draft him? And you ultimately said,
I said I got him in my dynasty league just to be safe, and he's exploded every week. I think he had like 25, 28 points this past week.
yeah, just one of my many predictions for the season. But yeah, Malik Neighbors, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
He is, like I said in the beginning of our episodes, he's gonna be the guy on the Giants because
yeah,
there is no one else there. They have Wan'Dale Robinson, they have Devin Singletary, excuse me. But at the same token, they're not gonna get the volume that he gets because he is the guy on that team. So I know we were talking about Daniel Jones and not being able to keep up with the I guess the speed of everything. But I mean, how do you think he played yesterday? I mean, excuse me, on Thursday.
he's been doing good, man. He's keeping that offense going. He's getting Malik the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and then in reference to Wan'Dale Robinson, he's getting him the ball. I didn't think he was going to be anything this year, but he had 12 targets last game,
Yeah,
and so he put up some numbers. He's taking some pressure off of Malik Neighbors. He's
mm-hmm.
definitely making them a better offense.
Right,
So I'm definitely impressed with the Giants. They're keeping their games competitive.
absolutely. And I mean, and that game with the Cowboys, it was a good game, but I think it was a little too slow
Yeah,
personally.
yeah,
Dak, I mean, I think he threw an interception and everything, but
yeah,
it's just one of those things where I feel like Dak is he's a good quarterback, right?
yeah,
He's a good quarterback, but it when he plays the Giants for some reason, it's just one of those things where they expect him to blow him out, but they never can. It's just one of those things where they just go back and forth. And like you said, to your point, they pretty much got blown out in the first two games. So you would
yeah.
expect them to just do what they do, but they just
They're not.
yeah, they crumble every time.
Yeah, and they lost a couple people to injury on defense.
Hmm.
So they're definitely going to be a little depleted going forward. So
Hmm.
we'll see how that impacts them.
So I have a question. How do you feel about Rico Dowdle?
I think eventually he's going to be the RB1 on that team. Ezekiel Elliott's shown that he just doesn't have it. I mean, he had
Hmm.
5 carries, I think less than 20 yards
Hmm.
last week or on Thursday. So Rico Dowdle's definitely going to be taking over. But, I mean, they don't really have a run game right now.
Absolutely. Um, I mean, that's one of those big things that they do have, but I do think that uh let me ask you this question then. So Rico Dowdle, CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks, these are the three, I guess you could say, forces on the Cowboys. Now, CD Lamb, he played his heart out, I guess you could say, because I know he had came on and earlier in that week, and he complained about not getting the ball as much, not doing this, and he made a big fuss about it. And then he came back and was like, you know what, I apologize. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna make sure. He basically had a temper tantrum, to say the least. But he addressed it, and he kind of said, okay, if you get me the ball more, we can produce more. I mean, how do you think his performance was in that game?
I mean, you could tell that they were definitely trying to get him the ball, but I mean, I definitely think his reaction was necessary because you get him more involved in that Baltimore game, maybe they come out with the win. But in that fourth quarter when they were trying to come back, they weren't getting him the ball at all, and I think that's what prevented them from being able to beat the Ravens. But they definitely had some more design plays for him. There was a couple plays with him out of the backfield where he was the design runner, so they definitely made it necessary to get him the ball.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's just one of those things, man. CD Lamb he's a good wide receiver. He got to feed him the ball. You cannot feed him the ball. So, I mean, I do want to kind of mention something about this week. This week we do have a doubleheader this week on Monday. Yeah. We have the doubleheader. We have I just want to kind of double check. I want to fact check. I don't, never want to steer anyone wrong here.
Yeah.
We do have the Titans and the Dolphins. Of course, one of our favorite teams here.
And there's nothing to like about them right now.
Oh man, let's before we even get into the second game for Monday night, let's talk about how we're gonna feel about that game because there's a lot going on with this game here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more surprised with the fact that you can get tickets for like $20-$30. You can get sideline tickets for like $150.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of for Dolphins.
Well, unfortunately, when your starting quarterback gets a concussion and your backup quarterback has an injury right after that, there's nothing much else we could do. Yeah, but I did see a few things about they did pick up Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
I do feel like he can propel this team if started. I think Skylar Thompson is still questionable to play and everything, but if they do start Tyler Huntley, like I said, it would jumpstart this team, I think, because he was a monster in college. I mean, he's a scrambling king right there, man. He does a lot of scrambling. He knows how to throw the ball. He has control. I think he is a good pickup for them.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, they still have Tyreek Hill. They still got Jalen Waddle. They got Devon Achane. They got weapons. They just obviously need a quarterback. So,
I mean, if you watched the Seattle game, you saw even with those weapons, it wasn't enough. I mean, Tyreek Hill had like 4 catches.
Yeah.
Achane had under 100 yards.
It's nasty.
I mean, they couldn't get anything going, and I don't think they will unless they get someone who can get them the ball.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to get Huntley in there.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think that Jalen Waddle he's a good piece. He's a good piece. He's a second wide receiver there. But I think if Skylar Thompson is out this game, the Titans are gonna run through him.
Yeah.
I think the Titans are gonna run through him because it's gonna be Tyler Huntley's first game. He's gonna be a good jump start, but at the same token, it's his first game. He hasn't played, so he has to obviously feel the field. He has to see how the defense is running. He has to make maneuvers. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a lot for him, but I think he will be a good jump start for weeks to come.
Yeah.
Okay. And well, what do you feel about this Titans offense?
I think that with Will Levis there, they got good receivers in the as a core. Their running back game is, I think, up and down, but Tony Pollard has been getting it done for him. So I think if we don't get any offense going, I definitely think they'll just roll right over us because they do have good weapons over there.
I mean, a lot of people question Tony Pollard. They don't think he's a good running back, but I think he's good. But he's not a Derrick Henry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we also lost a lot of pieces on our defensive line, so our defensive line isn't as strong as it was. And if you don't have a good defensive line, you can run right by them.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not necessarily about if you're a good runner. It's about the people in front of you.
Absolutely. So I mean, next we're gonna talk about the next doubleheader here. The next doubleheader is with the Seahawks and the Lions. Wow.
Yeah, I definitely think that'll be a good matchup. Kenneth Walker might be coming back
Mm,
in that game. If he does, that could be a good matchup. The Lions have been playing really well the last few weeks. Their offense is just killing it.
yeah. I mean, I do think for lack of better words here, that Jared Goff has been underperforming just a tad, considering of how he played last year. Last year, he like especially towards the end of the season, he was balling. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He was throwing the ball to Amon Ra. He was getting the ball to Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. He was all over the field. But now it's just he's performing. He's obviously performing, but he's not performing to the best of his ability. Is what I think personally. But um, I think though. I mean, who do you think is gonna get these games? Like,
I like the Lions to win that game.
okay,
Yeah, I definitely think the Lions have more of an edge
absolutely,
over Seattle.
okay. And then in reference to obviously Miami, the Titans.
Miami, I think Tennessee's going to win that one easily. I don't think there's much of a contest.
Okay, okay. And okay, so then we're gonna go and we're gonna talk about, I guess, prime time.
Yep.
And you wanna
Yeah. No, we got a good matchup on Sunday night. We got Buffalo and Baltimore, and Buffalo steamrolled Jacksonville last week. So they're just showing they don't need Stephon Diggs, man. Baltimore's looking good as well. They haven't had as many wins as they should, but they're definitely a high powered offense that has been performing. So I definitely think it'll be a competitive matchup. Um, I'm gonna give the edge to Buffalo on that one though. Josh Allen's just playing lights out. He's playing like an MVP right now.
yeah. And it's kind of funny that we're talking about that because in our previous episode I made a big spiel about how Lamar Jackson, this is his year. And, every 12 years they win the Super Bowl and this, that, and the third, and he has all these weapons, and he's just letting me down. He's just, and I'm not so much of a Ravens fan, but it's just
Yeah,
the fact of you have everything you need. You have everything you need. You have everything that you can possibly want. What is the problem? I just don't understand. To the point of Lamar Jackson not being able to basically continue with what he was doing, I guess, last year
yeah,
as being MVP. It's just I'm at a loss for words.
yeah. Well, I think part of it can be attributed to the defense too, because the defense isn't helping him by stopping these offenses. You get a couple extra stops, you get some stops late in the fourth quarter. Maybe that's the difference in a win and a loss.
Mm.
So he needs help from both sides, not just the offense.
You know what they say, defense wins games. So
Yeah.
I agree with you 100% there. Now, how do you feel that Derrick Henry has been incorporated into that team? Because you got to understand, Derrick Henry's coming from a very run-heavy team, the Titans, right? So you got to think, okay, you got Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. You think he's going to, obviously fall back a little bit now that he has Derrick Henry, but there's people like Zay Flowers on that team, Isaiah Likely. They still have Mark Andrews. They have all these weapons there. But do you feel that they are incorporating Derrick Henry the way that they should be in order to help propel that team?
I think everyone expected him to be the same type of player where he's getting 25 carries a game,
Mm-hmm.
150 yards, 3 touchdowns. But I think the Baltimore Ravens are playing it smart. They're trying to control his workload, and I think their idea is to have him at full strength for the playoffs. That way, when they do need to rely on him, they can. He's not sitting on the bench.
Yeah, understood that. But I mean, an 0-3 start, it's not
Yeah, I mean
it's
they can come back from that.
you know what? You're right. Some teams have come back from worse. So I mean, listen, I have a little bit of faith. It's a little discouraging, but at the same time, I do feel like the Ravens could bounce back. It's just you would think they would start like how the Bills have been starting, because everyone was thinking it's kind of funny because it's the opposite of what's going on here. You would think, oh, the Ravens, they got all this and they're gonna start and they're gonna just get blow everybody out in the beginning. But then you have the Bills, who everybody thought Stephon Diggs left. They got Keon Coleman. They got all these new pieces and all these things going on over there at Buffalo that they're gonna get beat up. and
Yeah.
it's the complete opposite. So
Well, they also had a tough start. They played the Chiefs, the Raiders. They should have beat for sure, but
mhm.
then they played the Cowboys. So I mean, that's not an easy start.
Well, let perspective because the Cowboys they always have those games, especially in the playoffs. They always choke in the playoffs. I don't know what it is about the Cowboys,
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it's just you know it's been an interesting season with all these injuries as well, man. How do you feel about that?
oh yeah. Some of these players are starting to come back, but like Jordan Love, he may come back this week. We haven't heard for sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly Debo, and then possibly Kenneth Walker as well. But something I heard yesterday, Chris Olave injured his hamstring during practice,
Oh
so
man,
that's a new wide receiver to the list.
the list is it's long, bro, and it just baffles me because I remember like it was like I guess and it wasn't last week, it was the week before that when we were well, Red Zone was up and I was watching Red Zone, and there was like multiple games on and there was like a carton every
Yeah,
game. Like I was just like what is going on? I think Amon Ra got injured, Debo got injured,
yeah,
AJ Brown isn't even playing. Like it's just a whole bunch of people getting injured and
yeah.
it's too early for this, I think, in the season. You know what I mean? It's not even week 5 yet for the most part. So you would think some of these people would be injured, would not be injured, but they ultimately are. So
And you never know.
yeah. We mentioning Debo, I do want to talk about a little bit of waivers here.
Yeah,
Now there were a few stars on the waiver this week, and I'm sure people have been surprised by his performance here. Jawan Jennings.
man. I picked him up in almost every league I could. The only leagues I didn't pick him up were ones where I had nobody I was willing to drop,
You're right.
and those were the ones that I regretted. But I got him in probably 3 or 4 leagues out of like 10 right now. You got him in our league, so
Oh man, I know. Hopefully, he does what he does.
yeah,
What he did last week, three
yeah,
touchdowns and all. Man, he lit them on fire in Los Angeles.
yeah. Well, I'm in a little bit of a dilemma in one of my leagues. I have Brandon Ayuk and Jawan Jennings
Ooh,
to go along with Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors.
ooh, that's a
So
who. So okay, for the audience here, who would you start?
I don't know, man. I'm going back and forth on that one. It tells me to play Brandon Ayuk, but last week he got all the attention and Jawan Jennings got all the catches.
Yeah,
So I mean, that's a hard decision to make.
and you know what? So, just to piggyback off that a little bit, I think that whole thing with Brandon Ayuk is kind of crazy because he made such a big deal about this contract, about him getting on the 49ers and him getting his contract renewed and him getting paid out. He's a valuable player. He's this, he's that. And we just haven't seen it. We have not seen it. He has not performed the way that he should be performing, especially with C-Mac being out, especially with like I said, with C-Mac being out, they got Jawan Jennings. They got someone who's under him in the rankings, outshining him. It shouldn't be that way. I don't think personally. I mean, he's a all around great wide receiver. I'm not trying to take that away from him at
Yeah,
all. But at the same token, you would think after all of that, he would go out there playing his heart out, and I,
yeah,
I just don't see it.
yeah. No, I definitely expected more from him. I don't know. Maybe he's just getting extra coverage from the DBs or what. But even if you're a great wide receiver, you should be able to get those catches.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. And then now we got the 49ers playing the Patriots this week. I like you said, in that situation, I don't know, man. I would. That's a tough decision. I think I would start Juwan. I mean,
So talking about that game, it's interesting. I heard something the other day that about 98% of survivor pools are already eliminated off taking the biggest projected winners. Right.
mhm.
This week, the 49ers are one of those teams as well,
Okay.
playing the Patriots, and something tells you that's an easy game. Let's just mark off the 49ers.
49ers, yeah.
But without Debo, without McCaffrey, the Patriots aren't doing terrible.
Yeah?
They're being pretty competitive for the most part. So there's an outside shot they could win, but I don't see it.
Yeah.
But there's an outside shot that it could be an upset.
You know what? It could be, especially because okay, hold on. Let's start with this. Jordan Mason is taking over that backfield right now while C-Mac is basically on IR. And there's no, I mean, who else do they have in that backfield besides Jordan Mason? Like, I can't even think.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I think he's a rookie.
Yeah, so it doesn't even, to my point, it doesn't even matter at this point. So Jordan Mason, he's taking over that backfield, but at the same time, um, with Debo being out, Ayuk being in, Jawan Jennings, I mean they still have Kittle.
Yeah.
I mean he was out last week, I think, so he's in this week now, right? I think he's
I think he's questionable. I don't think they've said for sure yet.
I think I saw this morning he was. Well, let's not say anything. He may still be questionable, but it's a possibility he can play.
Yeah.
So if he plays, I mean, ultimately that would decrease some of the target share with Jawan Jennings, but that I feel is one of those things where they have, the Patriots, they have Ramondre Stevenson, they have Jalen Polk, they have they have weapons on the Patriots, but Ramondre Stevenson's got shut out last week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a seesaw effect here. So you could think, the Patriots might, stick it out and they might try to overcome the 49ers, but if they shut out Ramondre Stevenson's, that's one of the that's who gets that offense rolling for the most part. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where it can be an upset, but at the same time it can also be a blowout. So
yeah, I think it comes down to that defensive line because last week the Jets shut down Stevenson, but the weeks prior they didn't.
Yeah.
So if they can stop him, then 49ers probably win easily. But if they don't, then.
But I mean, we gotta be real here. We got Nick Bosa on that team, bro.
Yeah, he's on the edge though. They lost some of their interior linemen during free agency. So the edge, they got it covered. But if he runs up the middle, it's a different story.
This is true. Well, I mean, it's more to come. We shall see.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other waivers, or I mean, because it is the end of the week now.
Yeah. There really weren't too many good waivers this week, but some players out there still that I've seen that I think should be started are Sam Darnold. He's beginning of season, nobody thought they had a chance. They wrote off the Vikings. They wrote off Justin Jefferson from a fantasy perspective. He went from a top 4 pick to a top 10 pick.
Right.
But yes, Sam Darnold's out there still. If he's out there, I think, depending on your situation, of course, if you have someone like Jordan Love or Justin Herbert, then, maybe you pick up Sam Darnold. But if you have like Lamar or Josh Allen, probably not.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I really didn't see too many big pickups this week. Nothing that I was really looking at.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Sam Darnold, he's actually doing really good. Like, I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how well he's doing. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, Sam Darnold, whatever," But I think he's doing a very good job overall. We could ultimately, like to your point, can pick him up in most leagues, and and believe it or not, there's some leagues where quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers is still in the waivers, which is shocking to me. He's like he's MVP status. Like, I don't understand. Maybe it's because of his age.
Yeah.
They're afraid he may get injured again, and they may mess up a lot of things for the Jets. But the Jets they've been balling.
Yeah,
they've been balling.
He's another good option that may be out there. He's got a good wide receiver group out there. He's got Breece Hall and Braylon Allen that are catching balls out of the backfield too. So he's got some weapons over there, and he can definitely be I think a startable quarterback, or at the very least someone to cover your bye.
Yeah, absolutely. And mentioning Braylon Allen, I mean, he's what 6'1", 6'2", 200.
Something like that. He's small.
Yeah, but I mean,
only 20 years old.
He's only 20 as a rookie, and he's getting burned behind Breece Hall like that. That's crazy. I think week before that he had about like 20 points. Yeah. This last week he had like 13 or 12 points. Like, he's sharing that backfield with Breece Hall, which is kind of scary because Breece Hall. Owners whoever has Breece Hall, you're like, oh, I mean, he's still performing, obviously, but like the fact that he's even sharing the backfield like that, I think that's something we should watch.
Well, that's crazy because he's not even getting that many carries or targets, but he's making the most out of his touches.
Uh-huh.
I think the two biggest rookies to watch out for, and I have him in most of my leagues. But, Bucky Irving, who's slowly creeping up on Rashad
Oh
White,
God.
and Braylon Allen, who, even though I don't think he'll overtake Brees Hall unless there's an injury, I think he's definitely going to be someone you could at least put in your flex spot.
Especially if you're doing dynasty. Yeah. If you're doing dynasty, if you don't have Braylon Allen in your lineup, man, he's a good pickup for sure. And it's funny because I mean, a lot of people don't even really know about Braylon Allen. He's one of those running backs where you think, oh well, with this Brees Hall, but you got to understand, Brees Hall is prone to injury. He's been injured. Like I think last year he was injured for like the beginning of the season. And then he came back and he played, and then it's just one of those people where you just have him just stash. He's a stash.
Yeah. Well,
so
I've also noticed a shift in running backs where a lot of these teams they don't want that workhorse 3-down back anymore. They want to have a backup that can take some pressure off. So I think that's why people like Braylon Allen and Bucky Irving are so successful right now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So it's just it's an interesting season.
Yeah. I do want to jump into another game I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
We got the Eagles and the Buccaneers coming up this week. And that's an interesting game because, like we mentioned earlier, there's no A.J. Brown. Most likely no Devonta Smith, who had a concussion last week. So that offense you got, and Jahan Dotson hasn't been showing up at all. So you got Dallas Goedert and Barkley against a pretty healthy Bucs team.
I thought I saw Mike Evans was hurt a little bit.
Oh, well, if Mike Evans hurt, then add that to the list.
But I know the list goes on. Goes on. But I think I did see something where Mike Evans was a little injured, or I don't remember if it was like a hamstring or something. But he was questionable at one point. But if he plays, then it's gonna be it's gonna be a tough matchup because without Devontae Smith, without AJ Brown, all they have is Saquon and Jahan Dotson and Dallas Goedert. And to be fair, I don't think that Jalen Hurts has been playing to the best of his abilities either. Now it's just crazy because you would think that these starting quarterbacks who have been praised and done what they say that they've done in the past, you would think it would roll over to the following year, but it hasn't for the most part. I mean, they've been okay, but if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley, I mean, the Eagles would be plummeting right now a little bit. I think personally.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Eagles will still win. I mean, they showed they can get it done last week with nobody but Barkley. I mean, Barkley carried that team 150 yards or so.
Mm-hmm.
You still got Jalen Hurts back there, so he can make some plays happen as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not taking that away from him. He's a great quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. But it's just, I think a lot of quarterbacks there. You know what? I will leave it to the point that maybe it's early in the season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they're still, because they're coming off training camp, and they're coming off of the preseason. They weren't even playing for the preseason for most of the part, but they're just warming up. I'm gonna give them that. You know what I mean? So, I think in reference to Jahan Dotson, though, I think he could be a sleeper because a lot of people don't even know when he was on the Commanders. He played. He was good. He was a good deep threat. He was kind of like a Rashid Shaheed kind of thing. But it just really depends on how he is utilized within that offense. So
yeah. Well, on that note, I do kind of want to throw a parlay out there off of a Hard Rock Bet. And we'll have that link in our bio for you guys.
Yes.
So with all those receivers being out, I think you gotta take Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost a guarantee he's gonna get something out there.
Mm-hmm.
I like Mike Evans over 4.5 receptions. I think this will be definitely an offensive game, especially if they get Saquon Barkley going. And Mike Evans hasn't been productive lately, but I think Baker is going to try to get Mike Evans back involved. And then the last one I like is Chris Godwin over 64.5 receiving yards. He's been just tearing it up last couple weeks. He's been getting some good looks, good targets. They've been setting up some screens for him to get open. He had a wide open play against the Lions, I believe last week or the week before. So I like Chris Godwin to get over 64.5. So those are my 3 plays, and right now that's a plus 525 odds. So
yeah,
that's a good return on that.
I like that parlay right there. That's a good one. I mean, if anything, I would go with the Lions game too because I think the Lions anytime touchdown for Amon Ra.
Okay.
I don't. Okay, I'm very bullish on when it comes to like their running backs because obviously it could go to Jahmyr Gibbs, it can go to David Montgomery, it can go to either one of them. But Amon Ross, anytime touchdown, I would go with that. I would ultimately also go with. I'm trying to think because I mean without AJ Brown and without Devontae Smith, see for me when it comes to parlays, I don't stick with just one game. I try to get multiple games so it can kind of you know raise the odds a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, Amon Ra for sure. Another wide receiver I think would do really well. Believe it or not, I think Calvin Ridley would do good this year. I think that's I can see Calvin Ridley doing some numbers this year as well. So I would throw Calvin Ridley in there. And then obviously Saquon Barkley. You cannot pick Saquon Barkley. So I mean, I would throw those three in there, and that's a pretty good parlay in my.
I can see it. Calvin Ridley's been getting some good looks too,
Mm-hmm.
and with the way Miami's playing, man, I'm sure he'll get a touchdown.
And it burns me to say that because we're Dolphins fans over here, but it's just I think just the fact of that whole situation with Miami and not being able to produce offensively, I think that the Titans are going to try to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
So. All right, so I think we're going to call it here. This was, one of those, new episodes that we are ultimately focusing in on. We do have, like you said, Hard Rock. Yeah. We're going to ultimately start, presenting. But yeah, until next time, this is your boy Derek and Zach, and we will catch you next time on the Playbook channel.
You guys have a great day.